Yours.
Thank you very much all. A great pleasure to be here, and in voting I have less probability to be squeezed by Agnès Pannier-Runacher. So, I feel I'm 36 years old, but I've been a few years in biotech and medtech. And what I'd like to convince you of is that what makes innovation less risky is to bet on radical innovation. And too often in France and Europe, we are risk adverse, and I'll give you a number of examples why very daring radical innovation can produce the best results to save lives of patients, and also we'll talk a little bit of that to help save the planets. So let me give you a few examples. When we started Carmat in 2008 with Alain Carpentier and Airbus, most experts, some in the room, I will not name them, told us it's crazy, it will never work, too complicated, why do we need an artificial heart? When we started Carbios in 2011, on the intuition that maybe biotech could help us do effective recycling of plastics. It was not as fashionable today. People were laughing at us, biotech and plastics. And when we started Abivax in 2013, on the thinking that mRNA could be a great target for novel therapeutics, the same mRNA we are talking of for COVID vaccines, very few people thought it would be possible. So I'm very pleased that today these three companies, which would not have existed without Truffle Capital, well, Carmat, of course, has launched its total artificial heart successfully in Europe, and I'm betting that Carmat will be world leader in this field. Carbios, 3 days ago, started its demo industrial plant where we recycled in 10 hours 100,000 plastic bottles, these here, into PET to make back with infinite potential new bottles. And Abivax this morning presented at the European Gastroenterology Conference phase 2b results for ulcerative colitis, very positive results, as well as RA results, which is a 90 billion euros potential market. So all of these were because, my team at Truffle, we thought, let's go for it. No business plan from A to Z, a few intuition, cash, hiring very good management team, board of directors, SAB members, like Raphael said earlier. So now we still have a few people laughing at us when we are saying we are going to develop an autopilot to do vascular surgery in a fully autonomous manner like you have in Airbus crossing the Atlantic, or when we say we are developing micro robots to navigate in the vascular system, or when we say we are developing a novel monoclonal antibody to restore immune function in AIDS patients or cancer patients. So let me try to define what we mean by radical innovation. So it's a scientific breakthrough, typically coming from academia, which can revolutionize medicine or revolutionize our planet. Something, as I said, few people will believe in. Very importantly, something which can be protected by very strong patents. That's one of the name of the game. And something which could make a small startup a very successful world leader. But there is one definition I prefer. It's a project which excites me and my colleagues, which is addressing a very big medical need or a planet need with a lot of uncertainty, difficulties, and where, as I said, most people say, crazy, will never work. So why is such an innovation less risky? Why should we bet more often on these? One, revolution of medicine and of the planet. Two, very strong patent. If you are a small company and you have very strong patents, you can take 30% market share. if you don't have a strong patent. I just want to show you this bottle will be recycled by Carbios. If you do not have strong patent, you'll just be a pioneer and you'll be dominated by bigger than you are. And importantly, if you succeed in the R&D phase, this breakthrough product and technology, well, you'll have it on the cover of Nature, like Carbios did. You'll be published in the best medical journal, like CARMAT or Abivax. And KOLs, analysts, investors will say, wow, that's terrific. But more importantly, the FDA, the European agency, will say, we'll give you fast track. The payers will say, yes, we'll pay for it, we'll reimburse with high premium because it changed life of patient, it changed the life of the planet. Now you'll tell me, sure, but what about R&D, uncertainty, and so on? Well, first, we need a little luck. But luck comes to the one who are prepared. Second, you need to hire stellar teams. Third, you need enough cash, and you need not to be in a rigid business plan, because you'll have disappointment. You'll have to change course in your R&D. You may have to change product candidate. It doesn't matter as long as the goal is a must-have, a big market opportunity, a big medical need. So a few lessons from these experiences. And if Thierry Breton was still here, I would tell him, great, but too little, too slow. Get things a little faster. But there are two important things. In order to support radical innovation, you need diversity among investors. Because some projects, Raphael or Laurent will like them, I will not, and vice versa. And great innovation needs to meet people who will believe in these projects. So let's be careful not to have a system, and I see a tendency in France and Europe to say we should concentrate funding decision-making on just a few great people and great minds. If you don't have diversity, which make the strengths of the US, then we'll go from radical innovations to a few innovations, mainstream and so on, and we'll miss a lot of opportunities. Second, R&D grants. My little finger is telling me that the Ministry of Industry, European Bank of Investment, unlike the what was said, that's great, Madame la Ministre, j'ai une proposition à vous faire. Vous ne serez pas surprise. Je pense pas. So I was saying that my little finger is telling me that the Ministry of Industry, the European Bank of Investment, who have done so many great grants, we couldn't have made CARMAT, Abivax, Carbios without these early grants, are now shifting a little bit the grants on lower risk, more advanced projects. That would be a big mistake, because we don't need your grants when the project has no risk has been proven. We need the grants early on to go along with investments. And the other thing I'd like to say is the mistake we did in healthcare with European French biotech not to be to the level of needs and opportunities. Let's not make the same mistakes in the needs for the planet, energy, recycling, and so on. Biotech, like we showed for Carbios, can change the world as long as we have daring projects, great science, enough funding, new regulations, which will help the Suez to finally do true recycling. And we have a great opportunity to solve a lot of the planet's need with great science, technology, and biotech. And since Agnès Pannier-Runacher is here, I have a little proposal to make, but she knows it, to boost biotech in technology for ecology. It's the ET project. I've changed the name since last time to make it really new for this meeting. So it's the status of hyper-innovation eco-techno enterprise. What does it mean? Is in order to attract investors, to attract entrepreneurs, let's do a very focused status for companies, French, less than 20 years old, who invest more than 25% of their expenditures in R&D, 40% in R&D, industrialization, and market access. And let's treat them like our adolescents with high vitamin, high reduction of taxes for investors, corporate investors, exemption of social cost on all salaries of people who are in R&D or in market access, exemption of capital gain, and that will have an enormous effect on investment for a very modest budget, less than 200 million in the 2022 budget, with a leverage effect of probably 10 to 20 times, meaning if Madame Agnès Pannier-Runacher enacts such a system, it will probably attract 10 to 20 times more funding from the private sector. So let's dare into radical innovation. That's the future of France and Europe. Thank you very much.